a person was often known by his or her glove, glove wearers were often advised not to wear shabby or ill-fitting gloves.
Much better. We were inspired by the Netflix series Bridgerton and the books of Jane Austen to take a peek inside the life of Regency Britain.
In this episode, we talk about the many rules of good glove etiquette.
Firstly, a lady should never leave the house without wearing her gloves.
It was of the utmost importance that you were fully attired before opening your front door. A lady should never be seen pulling on her gloves or buttoning up her gloves.
It was considered poor breeding to be seen without gloves. About the only time a lady didn't wear gloves was whilst dining. They slipped them off discreetly, lying them on their laps and popping a napkin over the top.
It was considered bad form for a gentleman to touch a lady without his gloves on.
A gentleman should not be gloved when receiving guests in his own home. Indoors, a gentleman could not offer a lady his gloved hand.
People were just as likely to wear gloves when it was warm. If a gentleman took a woman's hand in his gloveless one, there was concern that his perspiration may spoil her gloved hand.
A gentleman also needed to think what he was going to do if he was wearing dark-coloured gloves and she was wearing light-coloured ones. In such cases, gentlemen were advised to not touch a woman's hand altogether in case his dark-coloured gloves would soil her white ones.
Gloves for town wear should be of a light, delicate tint. This is because such a glove has an air of elegance and finish.
Gloves for the country may be stouter, but the material must be kid and fit perfectly.
Gloves to be used at home were often knitted or crocheted.
Another option for ladies were mitts or fingerless gloves. They wore them to keep their hands covered, both from the weather and from society's censure, but still having freedom of movement to do needlework, play cards and write letters.
Gloves and mitts or mittens were often made of soft leather or silk. Black gloves were worn at funerals for married people, widows or widowers.
White gloves were worn at children's funerals, for funerals of unmarried people, and at funerals for women who died in childbirth.
Undertakers often stood with a selection of various gloves in different sizes to give to the mourners.
Relatives of the deceased usually paid for the gloves. After the funeral, distributed gloves were not returned. They were usually kept by the wearers.
Ladies and gentlemen wore gloves when attending balls and the opera.
Gloves should be kept on when shaking hands, dancing, or holding out a hand to be kissed.
Formal events required gloves that were at least beyond elbow length.
White, ivory, beige and taupe were the traditional colours for opera gloves and were appropriate for almost any occasion where opera gloves were worn.
You could wear bracelets over gloves, but not rings.
Did you know there was also a secret language of the glove? Gloves could be used to communicate a message across the room without anyone else knowing. If you're interested in learning more of this, see the short that we released about the language of the gloves.
If you are interested in any aspect of Bridgerton Life and would like to know more, please drop your question in the comments section below. We may do a video on that subject and give you a shout out.
Thank you for watching.
Bye!